Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. How is everybody? Welcome. Pat, how are you, my friend?
I am good.
Yeah.
I always struggle with what happened with my week, so I just
Yeah.
want to put something positive out there for people. And
Thank
my week
goodness.
is
I've
not
been
usually
waiting.
that positive, but I want to say that I was thinking about this. We are having an effect on people, and the rich people know things are coming because
Okay.
I do electrical work and I go to a lot of bougie houses. And this week, well, in the last 5 days or so, they've been tipping like crazy. I got a case of wine. I got, $50. They don't normally throw you $50,
Right.
but I think they're worried. I think they're
They're
starting to
buying their
feel like,
safety.
or they're getting more scared of how I look because I'm so salty. It could be either one. I don't know.
I like the tipping and wine. Can you pay your rent with that?
I might be able to. It's good wine. I mean, granted, they
It's a
already told me
bartering system.
they did tell me in advance that it wasn't their flavor, and it's not really my flavor, but it's
So they're like, I don't really like it, but here you go.
yeah. So I have a coworker. So they gave us a case of wine between the two of us, which was like, it was like $300 worth of wine. So I'm not complaining.
That's nice. That's actually really nice.
Yeah. How was your week?
Um, It was good. Thank you for asking. I'm actually I mean, nobody can tell because we're in this like weird green screen thing, but I think, I mentioned my husband is shooting a film, and just so everybody knows how much COVID is still present in spite of the media narrative and the administration, they test 9 times a week. 9. They do 1 PCR test, 3 like just sub PCR tests. It's like 96%, and then the rapid test every single day. And then everybody wears masks except for the actors, who obviously can't be wearing a mask because they're being filmed. But they take it really seriously. That's what they do. That's how you're treated when they care about your life. When you have a good union, Screen Actors Guild is a good union, but also clearly producers who don't want to lose money on people being sick and infecting whole crews. So they take it seriously,
Right.
as we should all be taking it seriously. We in our home are taking it so seriously that my husband's not sleeping in the same room with me. So he is
It's been
sleeping in
like
our,
that for decades.
yeah, I
Stop.
know. We've just been waiting for COVID to give us an excuse. So he's sleeping in our office, which is where I'm shooting. So not only do I have, like, it's not very big, as I know you saw when you were here, but also now I have a cot bed in here. So I am so wedged in. My legs are like jammed between 2 desks. But
No,
my kids and I went for, yeah, go ahead. You
no,
can
I
make
was
some
gonna say
prom joke.
I don't need to hear about your college experience.
See, I always bring it back to prom because,
I'm sorry.
yeah, high school was a blast for me, I gotta say. A blast. Anyway, so
Uh,
yeah, so we're
lobbing them up.
we've been pre-gaming, Pat and I. But
For
anyway,
sure.
my kids and I went today to get our PCR test. We've been doing the rapid test, but we did our PCR test today, so we should find out tomorrow, because my older son was traveling. And it's hard as the mom. He came back on Monday night really late, and I wanted to give him all the smooches, but it gave him the rapid test first, and it was negative. But and he's kind of schluffy, and who knows if it's from traveling and partying, and then
Yeah.
allergies. But it's really hard as the mommy to treat my kid like he's contaminated. It's hard, so I haven't. Josh is much better at creating that distance. He's like a mask and is doing the push away. Anyway, so hoping we don't have COVID. We're trying to be we're always really careful. We wear masks and everything, but it's hard
Right.
with my own babies. That's
Yeah,
my week.
I can vouch for Lila's sincerity on her proactive protection. She's very, very safe and clean and germophobic in a good
I'm a
way.
total. I made Pat
But
take it. I mean, I make everybody shoes off, hands washed every time you come in the house.
this is true. But it's good. I mean, so like you've avoided COVID so far.
Yeah.
So when people say you look, I understand people. We'll all probably get COVID at some point. I mean, given the arc we're on, but you should still try to avoid it because they're showing more and more like repeated bouts of COVID are doing, there's some sort of accumulative effect of multiple bouts of COVID.
Absolutely. It's attacking your organs, and each time it attacks your immune system, becomes weaker. And again, like what that's going to do is the way they were so dismissive at the beginning with all the deaths, and they were like, well, that's an older person. Oh, comorbidity, an underlying condition. If you've had COVID, you are now considered a person with an underlying condition, which means that they will write off your death or, devastating illness as almost like you deserved it. I mean, it's just crazy. But anyway, I'm going to do that Bobby Knight quote at some point, and you're just trying to.
Is tonight the night? I think tonight's the night.
I don't know. Are rape jokes ever funny? I don't think so.
I wouldn't make them, but I'm not.
I think I probably just got myself canceled. Yeah.
Did you? Not yet. Say the joke. Say the joke. Should we get to our wheel?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
Let's go.
There it is.
Right.
Hey, I just wanted to say, because I'm reading the comments, and pretty soon my eyes will be totally blurry from all of the pre-gaming and the shots. But I was on our friend Jordan Sheridan's show earlier today on Status Quo. Oh, there, look at that. And thank you. That was so nice. I had a blast. Pat and I have been on before, and obviously Pat's known Jordan longer than I have. But it was a lot of fun. So I just wanted to shout out to Jordan and Status Quo and everybody over there. And we will be having Jordan on when he comes back from his travels to the Midwest Inflation Nation tour to drink heavily with us and spin the wheel. So right now it's just us.
Nice. Yeah, and we actually had a guest plan tonight, just so people know that it kind of fell through, but it doesn't matter because we've got all this stuff we can get to that we wouldn't normally have gotten to probably. So
that is right. Yeah, travel's kind of messing up everybody's schedules, but yes, we'll hope to have him back on, or have him on when he returns from his travels. Maximilian Alvarez also. And, okay. Yeah.
Wait, Viola asked what I'm drinking. So I'm drinking Regrowth from Sudwork Brewery. I have 2 local beers today. I'm trying to support the local businesses, I like to say. But the microbreweries in town get my support. We have lots of great microbreweries in Sacramento. That's one of the only things we have going for us. So, Steve, what's up? Steve. And Steve's cat.
And Steve's all right.
Let's see the wheel.
Spin the wheel. Oh, wow. I'm clearly so wasted already. I just smacked myself with my earpiece. Let's go. I need more shots for sure.
All right, let's just spin the wheel and we'll figure out what's on.
Yes.
That's a little loud.
That's a little loud and evil, and I love that it goes right to BlueMAGA. I'm back with my Sky vodka as always. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Here's a good shot. Oh my God. That never gets easier.
Yeah, baby.
It does after 3 or 4.
Yeah, actually. Kill my taste buds.
Wow. So last week was the first week I put like varying sound effects on the wheel, and so they don't even match this week because I just put the hashtags in with whatever.
Just rando stuff. I kind of like it. It keeps us all on our toes. What was that? No to NATO. I feel like, should we just start with the guy we all wish were one of our members of parliament over here, or where do you want to start?
Mick? Yeah, let's start with Mick. Let's hear about NATO.
The NATO summit in Madrid was a big love-in for the supporters of the military-industrial complex. NATO is not a defence alliance. It's a war machine. Ask the people of Afghanistan, Iraq or Libya. NATO's real goal is the defence of a waning US hegemony and a unipolar world system. That's what NATO exists for. Any discussion of that is silenced, chilled in this land of free speech. The war in Ukraine, NATO is loving it. Like the US, the Russian economy is dominated by monopoly capital. Both countries are run by oligarchs. Now we have a US-NATO proxy war against Russia and Ukraine. Two factions of capitalist imperialism waging war against each other, with millions of workers caught in between. A survey by the European Council on Foreign Relations showed that the vast majority of European citizens want peace rather than promoting a war that punishes Russia. But NATO never wants peace. What I want to know is, what does the EU really want?
Good question. As we see more and more of our money being sent over to Ukraine to support people that we are helping decimate. I mean, it's like, what is it, paying Paul? Like we're like burning the candles at both ends, or every different metaphor. It's appalling. And, you know, originally they were, well, we did so many shows on all of the propaganda and the lies that they were making up and showing, you know, pictures and pretending that we're not pretending, but, you know, falsely putting forth pictures of rebels in Palestine, and those people who have been given no voice by the US media, when the media mistakenly thought that they were Ukrainians fighting for their independence or fighting to get Russia out. You know, we're applauding them, right? The Molotov cocktails, any war crime, and wherever there's war, there is war crimes. But only were being highlighted if they were on the Russian side. Russia, you know, dissolving some of the media, imprisoning political opponents, and all of those things. Finally, U.S. media is starting slightly to push back and show, you know, they just showed that the bombing of a hospital in Ukraine was filled with militants. They, you know, you're not supposed to use civilians as human shields. So when Russia bombs a hospital, it's all of this is horrific, but you're not supposed to station your own soldiers in civilian places, right? So this is just devastating.
I mean, to me, the worst crime of the media is convincing the public in America that Ukraine can win this somehow. Like,
Yep.
so they got America's buy-in to this war, when in reality, every dollar we give them is prolonging the war, which
Yeah.
is only leading to unguided missiles being lobbied from Russia into Ukraine, because Russia has the power and the will to just win at all costs. And unless we step in ourselves, which we don't want to do against a nuclear power like Russia, they're going to just get flattened. And that's the history of what Russia's done. It doesn't mean Russia's right in this situation, but what is the end game? What is the out? How does this end?
Right.
It only ends with negotiations, which the U.S. has been pushed. They've pushed back. They've tried to keep Ukraine out of the negotiations.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I know obviously the whole point is they want regime change in Russia. I don't know who they think they're going to get that's better, right? Because at this point, I think a lot of the Russian population, while they maybe were not supportive of the invasion, are certainly not feeling a lot of love for the U.S., you know, who's imposed horrific sanctions that only ever hurt the working class. But also, you know, for a while, Putin was our guy. You know, he's a great capitalist. He, I think, made the first call to George W. Bush after 9/11, offered up some like strategic base for our invasion. So, I mean, you know, I'm not really sure, even if anybody's thought through the end game, even if it is regime change, which is horrible, but even if it were that, who are they putting in there?
Yeah, but the Russians love Putin. I mean, granted, there's a lot of propaganda and there is a lot of censorship in the media, and that does go on there. But like, you can't convince them overnight to support whoever the Americans want to put into power.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
who
yeah.
is that? There's no end game in this. It's all about economic power. It's not really.
Yeah,
we're not fighting
exactly.
for.
That's exactly right.
We're not
And,
playing
you know,
risk. Well, but I just want to say, like, I see
Yeah.
some of the people that I even respect that are progressives who are, defending our involvement in Ukraine. Not many, but a few. and they seem to be stuck in this like Vietnam era thinking of the domino theory. Like, Putin is going to just keep taking territories after territories after territories. He doesn't have the power to do that. Like,
Yeah.
all he can do is destroy areas. Even with Ukraine, he can destroy Ukraine, but he can't take over all Ukraine. They don't have the economic power to do that. They're broke.
Right.
I mean, like when it comes to spreading troops out vastly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the end game. And, the other thing is, first of all, I don't think that is Putin's stated objective. And who knows, like we can't look into his heart, but there was a buildup of NATO forces, and that's provocative. And I'm not justifying his invasion, but I think the US and NATO knew exactly what they were trying to provoke. And the reason people, I think, sort of forget, but Zelensky came into power with an enormous mandate, which was anti-corruption and peace. People wanted peace. They wanted to stop the shelling of the Donbass region. They wanted to come together to negotiate, to honor the Minsk Accords. And every step of the way, that was denied by, the imperialist US and NATO. So,
right. And he was caught up in the Panama Papers, and immediately after taking office, his war on corruption, because that was his whole platform, and he was tied into the Panama Papers. It was Pandora Papers. Pandora Papers. His popularity was in the absolute shitter until they got attacked.
Right. But even then, you're right. And even then, though, at the beginning, like back at the end of January, he publicly said, we need, stop making this a war. I mean, he actually called Biden out on that publicly. We need to negotiate. And then that was just shut down, because how else do you transfer hundreds of billions of dollars to the defense war machine? I mean, honestly, I wish we would just hand it over without destroying a whole country. I know. So here's the other thing. It's exactly when you talk about protecting democracy, Ukraine is constantly written up as the most corrupt country in Europe. So, whether it is shelling their own citizens in the Donbass region, whether it's jailing political opponents, whether it's shutting down internet freedom or TV stations, prohibiting Russian speaking. I mean, they're not, to act that they're a democracy is a lie.
I mean, just read the last sentence. I mean, this, like, the whole idea of democracy, as far as Americans have been sold, at least Democrats, crimes involving violence or threats of violence, targeting persons with disabilities, members of ethnic minority groups, and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or intersex persons, and the existence of the worst forms of child labor. So, like, I mean, what is democracy if it isn't protecting these people and not child labor?
Yeah. Yeah, but that doesn't feed the narrative where they were trying, Communist Party. I mean, I do keep coming back to this, where the left parties were banned and their assets are frozen, but the Azov battalion, the right sector, the Banderas are all thriving in Ukraine. And they keep trotting Zelensky out. Oh, he's Jewish, so that means he can't be anti-Semitic. But, we had Barack Obama here and saw a huge transfer of wealth away from Black homeowners. We saw, the rise of Black Lives Matter and the militarization of the police skyrocketed under Obama. I mean, I think it's kind of far-fetched to say just because you happen to belong to a certain group that you cannot also enable the persecution of those groups.
Absolutely. And the none of this to say that Putin is right and Ukraine is bad. Have to constantly repeat this point, but
why are you helping Trump?
But the fact that our media isn't telling a bigger, full picture of any of this story on the other side of who Ukraine has been historically, what's happening now, the truth, the reality of their winning this war, all of that is a disservice to our people, because when you look at funds being sent over there, we would push back, knowing that if Americans knew that this war is really truly unwinnable and the outcome of all of our support, we would, given the dire situation here, they would have a different outlook on a lot of this.
Yeah.
Or at least they should have the freedom to understand the situation better. Because if you ask normie Democrats who don't follow this stuff closely, they don't know any of this stuff that we just brought up. None of it.
They think it's a battle for freedom.
Yeah. They think Ukraine is winning because Russia hasn't conquered the entire country yet.
Yeah. You know? They think Ukraine's winning. They think it's a battle for freedom. And the censorship on mainstream media, on YouTube, people being deplatformed, being demonetized, and just sort of the jargon, like the jingoistic jargon that is constantly attributed to, the unprovoked Russian invasion, and the censorship betrays their fear of the truth coming out, which
it really does. I mean, just from our own show's perspective, I mean, we've talked about COVID and it's a similar kind of situation, but we've never had really, I mean, we don't dabble in conspiracies, either of us.
Right.
So we've been kicked off the air because we've gone farther than the CDC. We want protections in place that aren't in place. We're not on the other side of this argument. But even people that podcasters I don't even like, they're getting their shows kicked off, and maybe they are there to spread a message that's kind of bullshit. But who's deciding this? And there's literally nobody, there's no channel to appeal any of this stuff. So it's like on COVID, if Lila and I share something tonight that informs anyone watching about something that the administration doesn't like on COVID, our show will probably get pulled. And that'll probably what happens
4 times. Yeah.
Every time we talk about COVID, and there's nothing we ever share that's like some obscure
following the
paper.
science. Yeah.
This is scientific stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was applauded when Trump was in power. Everybody, was all for following the science. Anyway, it's very frustrating to see what's happening because it's people's lives. Yes. Are you spinning the wheel?
Executive decision.
Good. Censor me. Go.
Once we both get too grumpy, we just hit the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, what? Just in the Malibu. We were so close.
Teased us with a shot.
Well, I mean, the solution to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, in case you haven't already heard it, is just vote. Just vote. Also, attack the left at all costs. Those seem to be the two tactics that the administration is taking.
They've got a lot. I mean, you can't change it. You can't do anything about Roe. Anything we do, the Supreme Court's going to overturn it anyway. Just vote.
If you criticize the Biden administration, what do you think? He's not the Green Lantern.
Yeah, it's Vermont's fault for not executing Bernie somehow. You hear it all.
Bernie was right about everything.
Let's hear from our commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world.
I'm just stating a basic fundamental notion. The fastest way to restore Roe is to pass a national law codifying Roe, which I will sign immediately upon its passage. As the justice wrote in their dissent, and I quote, "The majority has overruled Roe and Casey for one and only one reason, because it has always despised them, and now it has the votes to discard them," end of quote. So what we're witnessing wasn't a constitutional judgment. It was an exercise in raw political power. The only way to fulfill and restore that right for women in this country is by voting. We need 2 additional pro-choice senators and a pro-choice House to codify Roe as federal law. Your vote can make that a reality. I know it's frustrating, and it made a lot of people very angry, but the truth is this. When you read the decision the court has made clear, it will not protect the rights of women, period.
That was some powerful teleprompter reading there. The raw, what do you say? The raw grab of power.
Oh, well, he also had another moment that they didn't show in this clip. So that's the clip they're putting out.
That's the edited
Like,
clip.
that's the administration's clip of the best footage they can get, and it has him calling Roe whoa, which, granted, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the
stutter.
world, but it's just a stutter. That part's just a stutter. Here he is with another section. They didn't include this part.
Power. It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. Women are not without electoral and or political, or maybe precise, not and or political power. That's another way of saying that you, the women of America, can determine the outcome of this issue. I don't think the court, or for that matter, the Republicans.
Okay.
Repeat the line. Emphasis.
That's the opposite
March.
of the raw power of the Supreme Court. That was teleprompter Biden reading the side notes, the stage directions, exit left. Yeah, that's not going to make anybody quake in his or her boots. And he could be doing so much more apart from chastising people just to vote. I know they've just come forward with a couple of protections, but again, and I will show them, but they only happened after a lot of, chastising and demanding and frustration from their base, because otherwise they were very content just to continue making Roe a fundraising issue.
Yeah. So initially, Biden said that he wouldn't support gutting the filibuster to codify Roe. And initially is like 2 weeks ago. I mean, so we're talking about they evolved on this issue. Well, we'll get into the timeline on that a little bit, but so anyway, Biden doesn't want to abolish filibuster. He's skeptical about using federal land in red states for abortion services, which is another thing people floated. He's ruled out court reform, so expanding their courts, all the things that you could do to literally impact this, they've ruled out. And he's currently, so he was reportedly set to nominate an anti-abortion GOP lawyer for a federal judgment, and they're still pushing that.
Yep.
He's going to, yeah. Anyway.
Well, yeah. So that guy's still happening. They're not. Oh, yeah. So, okay. So originally they said they don't agree with the filibuster, with abolishing the filibuster. Then who is it? Who became Patrick Leahy had some kind of debilitating injury that was going to keep him out of the Senate. So then they no longer had enough votes to pass the abolishing of the filibuster. And then Biden was like, yeah, you know what? I'm actually pro filibuster now.
We should abolish the filibuster now that we don't have.
Now that it absolutely can't happen. I'm totally for it. Yeah. And as you said, they're still going to have this anti-choice Trump judge that they are pushing through. I think 11 federal judges that Biden has just struck a deal with McConnell to pass. This
is one of them.
That's one of them. They're still going to do that. And I think there's like 7 of the 11 fast tracking. 7 Trump nominees will be district court judges. I mean, this is in the wake of Roe v. Wade being overturned, the outrage of Democrats. Abortion is favored on some level by a majority of the country, not just Democrats.
Right. But when you see, just so everyone knows, when you see Trump judge, that means pro-abortion, because all of his judges were basically chosen by the
Federalist Society,
conservative Federalist Society, the right wing. You couldn't become appointed judge without that litmus test for the right.
Yeah. And of course, none of that should really be any sort of surprise, because Biden has spent a career of being anti-abortion rights. So, I mean,
obviously, here's the list. We won't read it all, but if you're watching this show, you probably know enough about this stuff. So, yeah. Joe Biden has never really, abortion as an issue worked for him, but he's never been really super pro-abortion rights.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was interesting was, recently because of the January 6th hearings, a lot of BlueMAGA libs were really excited about the brave Liz Cheney, which is
my God.
unbelievable. Just because she happened to speak out about this one insurrection, never mind the one her father led in 2000 that instated George W. That was, I know we've talked about it before, but like that was an insurrection that actually was successful. But here she is on the Democrats' response or support of abortion. This is how she sees it.
And that's to make sure that every American understands what today's Democrat Party stands for with respect to babies and with respect to the murder of babies. We have seen now in states across the country the introduction of legislation that would enable the killing of babies. This is not about abortion. This is about killing babies after they are born. And it is the face of pure evil. And you've seen the leadership of the Democrat Party here on the Hill remain silent while elected leaders, including the governor of Virginia, described in very cold clinical terms how he would in fact facilitate the murder of a baby that had already been born. And I want to say personally, as a mother, I'm the mother of 5 kids. I've delivered 5 babies. And the idea that we have to say today to mothers all across this country that we've got to describe what the Democrats are doing is really horrific. And I want to ask mothers across this country to join with us to make sure that we don't see our maternity wards turned into killing fields, which is what the Democrats would do if we don't stop this. So we are absolutely dedicated to stopping this, dedicated to protecting the most vulnerable among us, which are the unborn. And the notion that we're having a debate about whether or not you should be able to kill babies is, as I said, absolutely horrific and evil. And we will stand up against that.
Welcome to the resistance, Liz Cheney. Hero.
Okay, the maternity wards. I mean, nobody.
It's like some
Look, I've
QAnon
never-
bullshit. I don't even know what she's talking about.
I've never had an abortion, but I wouldn't go to a maternity ward for my abortion. Probably the last place I would go
Yeah.
for my abortion. I mean,
Yeah. I think that's all that late term abortion nonsense that they always are putting in there, which only ever happens when the mother's life is in jeopardy. Nobody's getting a
Right.
3rd trimester abortion because, oh, I just decided now I don't want to have a kid. That's just, I mean, that's statistically
happening.
negligible. Yeah, if that's even a thing. So that's your hero.
But this brings up why we've always told Democrats, not our friends that we know at least, not to support garbage programs like the Lincoln Project, because this is the outcome of the Lincoln Project. This is like,
That's
the
right.
good Republicans, the ones that are on our side. They're like, no, the Lincoln Project was always trash.
Yeah.
And you've got Liz Cheney is trying to get people to vote. She's campaigning to Democrats to switch parties to vote for her in her primary. I mean, here's the
and
anti-abortion candidate, like,
was
no.
it Robert Reich who just said, hear me out, let's put Liz Cheney on the Democratic ticket 2024? I mean, that is horrifying. It wasn't even like a Lincoln Project person who did it. It was Robert Reich saying that.
I mean, I've seen like Pete Buttigieg and Liz Cheney. Like that's,
oh my God.
like, if those two together, I don't know who it was.
I
but
will
they were
never
like,
vote again. That's what will
You're-
happen.
oh my God, awful.
Yeah.
All right. But let's hear what Kamala has to say about Roe versus Wade.
You don't have to abandon your faith, whatever that might be, to agree the government should not be making that decision for a woman. And so that's why I say, let women make those most intimate decisions. Let people make the most intimate decisions that are about what I call heart and home, which includes contraception, which includes same-sex marriage. Let them make that and be free to make those decisions without government interference.
When you look back, did Democrats fail, past Democratic presidents, congressional leaders, to not codify Roe v. Wade over the past 5 decades?
I think that, to be very honest with you, I do believe that we should have rightly believed, but we certainly believe that certain issues are just settled. Certain issues are just settled.
Clearly, we're not.
No, that's right. And that's why I do believe that we are living, sadly, in real unsettled times.
Okay. Can I just say that is entirely bullshit. So
Yes.
abortion rights advocates, they literally have laws in the books that are going through the courts and up for they have ballot initiatives set because they always knew this was coming. Like,
I mean, the
these groups
Republicans have been
knew
saying it for
this was
50
coming.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't, but it's not
No
just
big
a wedge
surprise.
issue because a certain core of the Republican Party is fundamentalists that are true believers in this stuff. So it's not, we're so cynical on the left that we think, well, wedge issues, Democrats don't believe our shit. So they're just using it to get our votes. And the right is too, but like they have to fulfill some of these things on the right to get that support because that's all they've got. Because the abortion rights make everyone on the right drop their logic. It's an emotional, religious connection to their voters. So we knew this was going to happen. Abortion activists knew this was going to happen. They knew they would try to do this. So that's horseshit.
Yeah. And after doing nothing for 2 weeks, there's some, interview that Biden gives, and basically his spokesperson just attacks the left, saying, what was the exact quote? Joe Biden's goal in responding to Dobbs is not to satisfy some activists who have been consistently out of step with the mainstream of the Democratic Party. It's to deliver help to women who are in danger and assemble a broad-based coalition to defend a woman's right to choose. I mean, what are they talking about? They are so out of step, not only with the Democratic Party, but with the majority of the country who supports abortion rights. But they cannot trip over their dicks fast enough to throw the left under a bus.
Yep. But you know what? That's why Biden's poll numbers are in the absolute crapper, because you are now making your own inaction. Like it's so apparent to people that don't even tune into these other issues, because abortion is front and center for so many people because it's been such a basic tenet of the Democratic Party that you're abandoning. And obviously he's seen as not wanting to fight, which is the main thing. Like, if this was inevitable, at least put up a fight, and just vote
like you
in November.
Didn't see it coming. Yeah, I know. How many people are going to die in between? Like, it is healthcare. I mean, I think they're acting like it is just some. I mean, but all of it. You call it social. Not you, but they call them social wedge issues. But those issues are always people's lives. It's always civil rights, healthcare, just basic, food security, having a home, a roof over your head. Like, however they try to phrase it as wedge issues, it boils down to people's lives. So, like, the fact that their main thrust in this is respect the court. Oh God, we don't want to overstep our boundaries, and we couldn't see it coming. And those fucking lefties. Like, I mean, that's not. They clearly do not want my vote.
Yeah, but on some level, everyone could see through that. Like, there's something they disappointed in that.
Right.
That hits whoever you are.
Yeah. And, I saw what, and then I know we're going to spin the wheel and keep moving, but there was one, what's her name? She's the one who accused Trump of rape. So, but I think she's also, she has other credits to her name. I think she's a reporter also, right? Or a journalist, E. Jean Carroll. But her big response, and this is always what the libs do, is boycott all these states, which, okay, I get it. But they're already poor. Our single goal should be to bankrupt them. And I'm looking at you, Alabama. And then somebody responds, I provide reproductive health care services in Alabama. Also go fuck yourself. And then Sarah Kendzior, who's like she does one of those podcasts. I mean, she was big into the Mueller stuff. But anyway, another go fuck yourself, right? Because this idea that we can just, it's like, oh, it's a red state. They can just die.
Yeah. And so this could have gone into our BlueMAGA section, because that's what happens is like all these cheerleaders come out and try to push this like, oh, red states should fall into the ocean and die. And, but also the entire Democratic Party is trying to appeal to these people. Like, so what's the message on the Democratic Party side? Well, we can't do progressive stuff because we need to win over Republican voters, but also they could all fucking die.
Right. Right. Yeah. And you're right. It is exactly like when Trump was like, oh yeah, no, we're not going to give money for forest fires to California because they didn't vote for me. It's like, where is the humanity? I mean, and obviously there is none. We saw, the pandemic of the unvaccinated, and anybody who's unvaxxed should die was basically the mantra of the Biden administration. I mean, it's really.
But so remember when even all the centers were like, well, let's see what happens if Trump tries to abolish abortion, overturn abortion rights. So we'll all be in the streets and blah, blah, blah. We haven't done shit. There isn't a goddamn thing because the media and the Democratic Party are pushing this whole like vote in November thing because it's the only way they can win in November.
That's right.
That's the only reason they're not acting on this now. If the election was like 3 years out, they would be forced to do something. But now they're like, oh, no. And Kamala literally says it. Like, I don't know. We probably have the tweet somewhere, but like, she's like, oh, there's an election 130 days out. We don't want to rub people wrong before election. No, you need to fucking do it now.
Yeah. Here, and this is important data. Ending Roe is a game changer for the 2022 election. Not like for women's rights, but it's a waking up the Democratic coalition, a coalition which gave the Ds a 6.5 point margin in the last 2 elections and voted in record number. I mean, I don't think this is going to hold for 4 more months, but I guess they're putting all their eggs in that basket.
Really quickly, I want to show a video of the rest of the world. And this is not over Roe versus Wade, obviously. It's the rest of the world. But like Roe versus Wade is the issue that should get everyone in the streets right now. We should all be flipping over the government right now. We should be like doing something.
Yep.
I mean, overall, the economic issues as well, obviously. But like Roe versus Wade should this is how we get our normie Dems into the street.
That's right.
And then leverage that into the economic issues. But we need to get them in the street. And if we can't do it on Roe, we're not going to be able to do it on economic issues. So we need to change things. But here's the rest of the world right now. And kudos to James Melville who compiled this video, I believe. But this is 6 other countries, 9 other countries. Right now. All right. I will spare you the whole minute of that video, but I mean, come on, like the rest of the world is flipping over their chairs and fighting their governments. And
I know. I mean, I know. And I mean, I agree with you. And I wish that's what we should all be doing. But I do think that, the plan of the capital society or capital class is pay people too little, tie healthcare to their jobs, make them desperate. And when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't skip out on a day or 2 or 10 without a real structure organized underneath you to help. So, I mean, I totally agree with you. And yet other countries, because they have a higher standard of living, there is sort of built into their ability to strike. I mean, when I lived in Italy, there were planned strikes all the time. You'd be like, okay, next Wednesday, the buses are on strike. That was like, there was support for the working class, and we have decimated it here, both parties.
Yeah. And the Italian government's been corrupt forever. I mean, they've always been corrupt, more or less. But the difference is here, corporate control has got the media too. So like, even if you are like, to hell with all of it, I can't afford to because of my job, those people aren't seeing examples of any success. So it's like, it's almost like growing up, if you grow up poor and you don't have you don't have
anything to look.
There's no reality to this situation of us actually fighting our government.
Turn on those record players.
And that's probably why they're amping up all the January 6th trial stuff. I mean, that's why we get bombarded with it.
100%.
Because look, this happened. All these people are going to jail. And I'm not saying they shouldn't, but like that uprising was for the wrong reasons and ridiculous.
Right.
It's not based in fact.
Right.
You know. Anyway.
But they're not going to prosecute a single person, or they already, I mean, like they're two separate things going on. So anyway,
Let's
yeah,
move on.
let's move on. Thank you, Mary, for getting my joke. Record players.
Yeah, baby.
I missed it entirely. Sorry. Okay. We got the shot.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Is this only our second shot? Holy crap.
Not
Show's almost
mine.
over.
It might be
Well,
only our
on
second
air.
one on air. Cheers. Ah.
Going right to our wheel since we're
Yeah, baby.
Oh,
Let's go.
and the gods have spoken.
The gods have spoken. You know I can't wait to talk about Pedo Peter after 4 shots.
We need to get there. I want to hear your Bobby Knight joke.
That's the post show.
Damn it. We need a post show one of these days.
Yeah, we got to do a post
We
show
should
one of
have a
these
post
days.
show.
I can't today because I have
Yeah,
to run.
baby.
I mean, I'm getting driven there by my older son, but to my younger son's game. I'll be the drunk lady in the stand. Oh, shit.
Wow.
Have you ever gotten kicked out of a high school baseball game?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
I will report back next week to let you all know how it goes.
Nice. I used to ref soccer though, and I dealt with drunk parents. So I was on the other side of it.
I
No,
will
no,
never
not
say
serious.
anything to a ref or an umpire.
Cheers.
Cheers. Mm.
Oh, I need a chaser.
Oh my God, me too. Viola, is it Viola or Viola? I'm so sorry. You're always so sweet about writing in, but she wants to know what hard alcohol you're drinking.
I'm drinking the Dual Barrel Collection. It's a bourbon that bourbon whiskey finished in vanilla extract barrels. So it's bougie.
Ooh. I was gonna make another sexist joke about like, do they serve tampons with that? Haha. Why am I'm like anti-female today? It's a self-hatred moment. It's terrible.
Progressive
Vi like
leftist.
Lila. Okay, good. Thank you. If I hadn't gotten myself canceled with the Bobby Knight
Please
joke,
say the Bobby Knight joke. You
You
haven't even said it yet. People
I
don't.
know.
They have to.
I'm building
Google it.
suspense, and I have to leave in 12 minutes. I'm gonna get through the next 12 minutes without canceling us.
God damn it! Tell
Damn
that
it.
trans joke that you told me.
No, I didn't. I only
She
make
didn't. She did.
Jesus Christ.
Just trying to cancel her.
Help me,
Yeah,
help
baby.
usher me out the door. Oh, come on now.
They're trying to make this a reality here.
Oh my God. Do you know that I also keep score? I scored.
Oh,
the
you're a
baseball
scorekeeper
game.
for the.
I am.
Get-
I like
Hey,
do the whole
give
I
them some
score.
runs. They're not looking.
Definitely he reached on error.
Big distraction.
Cheers. Oh my
Ah.
God.
2 shots left to go. Let's do it.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, baby.
That looks like BlueMAGA.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I need
That
some
one
mixer.
actually-
I'm gonna fall
That
over.
one kind of fit.
That was good. So you say MAGA, I say MAGA. Is it MAGA?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't
It's
know
probably-
either.
What would they would say MAGA, like
I think
MAGA.
MAGA, right?
MAGA,
Like the flat
MAGA.
A.
Yeah.
BlueMAGA. So I guess Dan Rather was really upset when he
So
found
yeah,
out. Yeah. Go ahead.
it trended all day on Twitter, which I missed. I mean, because
Yeah.
I'm honestly less involved in Twitter than I used to be. I mean, it ebbs and flows, but
yeah.
but it trended all day. So here's Dan Rather.
Seeing the ridiculous term BlueMAGA trending is all the evidence you need to put the phone down and call it a night. Do not investigate why
So
that
yeah,
hashtag might be trending, whatever you
as
do.
a journalist, you might want to say, it's trending. Okay.
Shut up and vote.
What is it?
Yeah, what is it? So I know we all know what BlueMAGA is, but boy, they've been out in spades. They are very angry that you call out Biden on anything. He can't do anything. He's just one person. The president doesn't have all the power in the world. And then people raise their voices, and he finally does like a little thing, which was, protecting, protecting doctors and women who get abortions in
Roe. Yeah.
right. And then they want to take credit for that while throwing the people under the bus who were the very reason that he finally acted on it. It's just,
Yeah. So the impetus for their measly little pathetic action every single time is the left who's up their ass about these things.
right.
Which is why you get all this BlueMAGA, like, you guys need to not talk about this because the election's important, and
Stop helping Trump.
Bernie in 2016 is why we're here. So you always hear that, but every change comes from us bitching about it. Like,
Yeah.
So Becerra recently, first he said that they wouldn't do anything about abortion because anything
They
they were
respect the
likely to
Supreme
do,
Court.
well, yeah, and anything they were likely to do would get overturned by the Supreme Court. He's on an interview on MSNBC or something saying it's just going to get overturned anyway. We have to respect the Supreme Court, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But now they're saying after our bitching, they said, one, we're going to try to end the filibuster, which they're not going to do. They're not really trying to end the filibuster, but they said it at least.
As long as Patrick Leahy's out incapacitated
Yeah, now
on
they
the
can't
IL.
Once we
Now
get a parliamentarian ruling,
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
support all kinds of programs that will never happen.
Yeah. And, so then the other part of the BlueMAGA thing is just seeing, and we talk about this all the time, but how similarly this administration runs things as the Trump administration did, whether it's, continuing building Trump's wall, drilling on federal land. What else are we looking at? The polls obviously are horrific. There's Biden. He is at 69% disapprove. And is that just with that group? I thought it was actually bigger with that group. But I think 74% of people, 2/3 say he should bow out. 64% say that he shouldn't run.
Literally everyone who has a voice who is ever getting heard is saying, don't run. Like, you're down to just Democratic consultants, which is, it could
How are
be,
they going to make their money?
well, 18% of the country, they might be hurting so badly that 18% of the country is Democratic consultants getting paid by the Democratic Party.
But let's see how our commander-in-chief responds to these numbers.
Mr. President, what's your message to Democrats who don't want you to run again?
They want me to run.
2/3 say they
Read
don't.
the polls. Read the polls, Jack. You guys are all the same. That poll showed that 92% of Democrats, if I ran, would vote for me.
A majority of Democrats say they don't want you to run again in 2024.
92% said if I did, they'd vote for me.
So,
Yeah,
so
no
even
good
if,
soldier pony or whatever the hell.
yeah,
Dog
but
face.
even if everyone's telling him not to vote, not to run, those same people would vote for him. That's his whole argument. Like, that's such a terrible argument to make. Like,
Yeah.
They would vote for me if it was like, fuck it, we're stuck with him. And he just made that argument back to a reporter. Like, fuck it, if they're stuck with me, they're going to vote for me.
Yeah.
That's what he just said.
Not a ringing endorsement of democracy, but yes. Yeah, and now they're blaming this whole thing of blaming sorry, I'm looking for all of our different blaming inflation on
teams. No, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Blaming inflation on the large stimulus checks that people enjoyed 2 years ago, $1,400 or whatever the hell. They ended the child tax credit. They ended free lunch programs. They kicked 8 million people, Biden administration, off of unemployment insurance. They have been devastating to the people of this country. And then they're going to talk about Putin's price hike and inflation like it's some sort of, like, it's not just price gouging and CEOs, cashing in on the PPP loans that they were supposed to invest in their businesses and their workers, fired off their workers, reinvested, did buyback, and made all of their shareholders wealthy. I think 80% of PPP loans didn't even make it to the workers.
Of course they didn't. I mean, that's the whole game. Like,
but they never
let's
call them out on it. They're not. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go.
well, this is unrelated, but kind of related. Like, we're giving. This is why Biden's in the. Yes, Biden still owes you $600.
Yeah.
But in this country right now, like, our life expectancy is going down. Look at that.
Yeah.
We're spending all this money on healthcare. So the top chart is how long you're supposed to live in the US, which is like 5 years less than every other country up there. 6 years, whatever. But we're spending a ridiculous amount on healthcare. Our expenditures to the right, the farther to the right you are in this chart, the more per person is being spent on healthcare. So this system is working perfectly for the donors of the Democratic Party, who also donate to the Republican Party, who are in healthcare. They're all getting rich. They have no interest whatsoever in changing this system.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. In the last 50 years, the administrators, that's the health insurance companies, look at their skyrocketing numbers, and physicians are still like bottoming out there. I mean, that's where the focus is.
That should make everyone drink. I mean, I'm not saying you should drink, but it should make you drink.
You got to do something.
So you need some outlet for this. I don't know what it is. Take up kickboxing.
Self-medication. All right.
Okay.
One more spin, right?
We've got well, you have the heart out, not me.
I do have a heart out. Why? What were you going to do?
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to try to use my.
You sound like you have a stutter.
Jesus. Don't make fun of my disability. So the Medicare for All march is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
I did want to bring that up.
Absolutely.
So in DC on July 30th, there's a Medicare for All march, and they've paid for a lot of their expenses already. They got potty rentals, ADA ramps, but they still need ASL interpreters. If you can volunteer your service, that'd be great. And money for mutual aid. They're doing a bunch of stuff related to that. So
yeah, that's go ahead.
Yeah, I was the M4ALL.org. That's their website. But they're also this time they've done a lot of local events, but this one is focused in DC. I know Marianne Williamson is there. So we'll see what happens with the whole thing, but I support any action. If it's
absolutely
a bake sale, whatever, I don't care if you think some of these people involved aren't your flavor. We support everything out there that's making a ruckus. So they're making some kind of ruckus. So let's
fight on all fronts every chance you get.
Yeah. Yep. Amen.
And I just saw somebody say, "Oh, Viola, I'm going to the comedy show on the 29th in Seattle for Ron Placone." That's great.
Love
have
Ron.
fun. He's amazing. Yes, and you're right. Very soon, the Supreme Court will focus on destroying gay marriage, and unfortunately, 2024 will be about abortion rights and gay rights, and we are going back in time. Nothing is settled, and I really blame Democrats because they know they're taking up the space of a true opposition party, and all they ever do is shit all over the left, who are actually fighting for the policies that a majority of the country wants, while they enable true fascism to rise in our country. It's terrifying.
And we're at the point where it would be so easy to vote for Democrats as the lesser evil. Even someone like me could vote for them as the lesser evil because the Republicans are so bad. If you just showed any sort of fight in you and you weren't saving all this for political fundraising.
Yep.
So it's just, but you've made it clear to some of the people that supported you up until now are the for the first time in their lives, the shitty centrist Dems for the first time in their lives because of abortion, see how pathetic the Democratic Party is. So they're expected to lose the House, even with abortion on the line right now. They're expected to lose the House. Nate Silver last week said for the first time, it's 80% chance they still lose the House. 80, I don't know the numbers exactly, but it had an 8 and a 0 or something beyond it. So it's at least 80% that they're going to lose the House from Nate fucking Silver. the shittiest centrist Democrat.
Yeah.
So
No,
you
they've
need to
done it.
accomplish
Yeah.
something, show some fight, and they're not doing it. So that's waking people up, which is why we need to look like those other countries in the streets over abortion, and we can expand it to other issues. Not that abortion alone isn't enough, but like that's how we leverage. That's the thing that can bring
Some
people in
power
that
and let them know we will not vote for you. We are not voting for you.
Accomplish something now.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
do it now. Fight now.
Yeah. All right.
I hate that you have to go. I could do 2 more hours of bitching because I'm just getting started.
No, I'm with you, and I agree. And we do have to get out in the streets, and and remember why we're all in this fight together. Because I do think it's important that we have this time together where we enjoy, we drink, we talk about the issues that matter to us. Because the reason that we're all so angry is because we want to have lives that are not so based on fear of where the next paycheck's coming and everything. So I really think it's important that, as we always say, we keep punching up, support those unions. There's a lot of strength in those unions, and get in the street. And thank you all for showing up every week. We love you guys.
I'll let you have the last word.
Oh,
and we do love you guys. Much appreciated. For real.
Cheers, everybody. We'll see you next week.